And now to the South American nation of Peru. Chinese leader Xi Jinping will unveil a Beijing-funded megaport in Peru later today.
Insecurity is hitting the US after China's megaport in Peru is taking over the industry and making monumental achievements since its official operation. The Panama Canal has been controversial, especially that Trump desires for his country to re-own it, and now China made it to South America just like that. What's Trump's next move now? Has China just outrun the US again? The port of Chancay, China's gateway to South America. The port of Chancay is a major shipping terminal located in Chancay, Peru, developed by COSCO Shipping Ports, Chancay, Peru, SA, a joint venture between the Chinese state-owned shipping and logistics giant COSCO Shipping Ports and the Peruvian company Volcan. The port is a key component of China's Belt and Road Initiative and is legally classified as a private port for public use under Peruvian law. This status grants the operator exclusive rights to provide port services. Situated approximately 60 kilometers north of Lima, the port of Chancay is set to receive an investment of $3.5 billion USD, 3.3 billion euros, for its construction and development. Despite its potential to boost trade, the port has sparked concerns regarding its dual-use potential. The idea for constructing a significant commercial port south of the historic Chancay Marina was initially proposed in 2007 by Juan Ribaldo de la Torre, a former admiral of the Peruvian Navy. This vision led to the creation of the Chancay Harbour Company, CHP, which secured the necessary land for the project. In 2011, Ribaldo's company, in partnership with Volcano Mining Peru, established Chancay Port Terminals, TPCH, to oversee the development of a multi-purpose terminal and logistics complex. In 2019, Volcano Mining and COSCO Shipping entered into a commercial partnership to further the project. COSCO's involvement led to a major reconstruction and expansion of the initial plans, with a redesigned engineering approach and a total investment expected to reach $3 billion. As part of this deal, COSCO Shipping Ports acquired a 60% stake in the venture, while Volcano Mining's ownership was reduced to 40%. The company was subsequently renamed COSCO Shipping Ports, Chancay, Peru, SA. On November 14, 2024, the port was officially inaugurated in a virtual ceremony attended by Chinese President Xi Jinping and Peruvian President Dina Boluarte. The event marked the commencement of port operations following the issuance of a joint directive from the two leaders. Peruvian Foreign Minister Elmer Schuyler emphasized that the decision to open the port was made for security reasons. Following the official opening, operations began with the unloading of cargo by the COSCO Peru and New Shanghai vessels. In the initial phase, the port is expected to handle approximately 1 million TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units, annually. The port of Chancay boasts several advantages over other ports in the South Pacific, including a natural draft of 17.8 meters, 58.4 feet, which allows it to accommodate large vessels with capacities exceeding 18,000 TEUs. Its strategic location on Peru's central coast places it in close proximity to the port of Callao, Jorge Chavez International Airport, and key regional infrastructure, such as the Initiative for the Integration of Regional Infrastructure in South America and the Central Amazonian Interoceanic Corridor. The port's development is structured around three main zones: the Port Operations Zone for embarkation activities, the Entry Complex, which includes the vehicle port, Customs Inspection Area, Administrative Offices, Logistics Support Services, and an interconnecting tunnel linking the port to the Pan-American Highway. The primary operational goal is to facilitate the transportation of 1 million TEUs and handle a total of 6 million cargo units annually, significantly boosting Peru's maritime trade capacity. Tug of war, China, US, and South America. In recent years, Latin America has increasingly found itself at the center of a global geopolitical chess game, and one of the most visible examples of this unfolding drama is the development of the port of Chancay in Peru. On the surface, it might just seem like another infrastructure project, a modern deep-water port that promises to boost trade, ease logistics bottlenecks, and attract foreign investment. But look a little deeper, and it's clear that Chancay is far more than that. It's a strategic outpost in the growing rivalry between China and the United States, and a symbol of South America's shifting place in the global balance of power. The port of Chancay is a centerpiece of China's growing presence in Latin America, and specifically its ambitions to establish a permanent maritime and commercial footprint on the Pacific coast of South America. China, through its state-owned shipping giant COSCO, has invested heavily in the Chancay project, acquiring a 60% stake in the port and committing billions to its development. Once operational, the port will be able to handle massive container ships directly linking Peru to Asia, significantly reducing shipping times and avoiding traditional routes like the Panama Canal. Is this just about improving trade? It's part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, a sweeping global strategy to build infrastructure, secure supply chains, and extend political and economic influence across the developing world. In South America, Chinese firms have already built highways, dams, railways, and now ports. Through these investments, China is securing access to the region's vast natural resources, especially copper, lithium, soy, and oil, while also weaving South American economies closer to Beijing's orbit. This growing influence hasn't gone unnoticed in Washington. For decades, Latin America has been considered the US's traditional sphere of influence, shaped by the Monroe Doctrine and reinforced by decades of economic and political involvement. The US has long expected to be the dominant external power in the region, whether through trade deals, military alliances, or diplomatic pressure. But with China stepping in with massive infrastructure investments and low-interest loans, the US is facing a new reality. The port of Chancay, in particular, has raised strategic alarms. Though it's a commercial facility, ports inherently have dual-use potential, meaning they could be adapted for military or intelligence purposes down the road. US officials and analysts have expressed concern that the Chancay port, once under full Chinese management, could become a logistical hub, not just for trade, but for strategic projection, especially in times of global conflict. Additionally, the port represents a broader trend of Chinese digital and physical infrastructure spreading across Latin America, often built with Chinese technologies, managed by Chinese firms, and increasingly integrated into supply chains that bypass traditional US-led institutions. To the US, this signals a creeping erosion of its influence in a region it once viewed as an extension of its own strategic rear. Caught in the middle of this global power competition is South America, a region with enormous economic potential but also deep infrastructure gaps and a history of being sidelined in global affairs. Countries like Peru, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile are all facing the same challenge: how to attract the investment they desperately need without becoming overly dependent on one global power or the other. Peru, in particular, sees the Chancay port as a major opportunity. It could become a regional logistics hub, serving not just Peru, but landlocked neighbors like Bolivia, and offering a faster route for Brazilian and Chilean exports headed to Asia. The port promises jobs, economic growth, and integration into global trade routes. But there are trade-offs. While Chinese investment has come quickly and with fewer immediate political strings than Western aid or loans, critics worry about long-term dependency, opaque contracts, and environmental and labor concerns. Meanwhile, the US has tried to counter China's growing influence with diplomatic missions, trade summits, and proposals for alternative partnerships, but often without matching China's scale of investment. Many Latin American leaders, increasingly confident on the global stage, are now pushing for a more multipolar world, where they can partner with both China and the US without being forced to choose sides. What makes the port of Chancay such a geopolitical lightning rod is that it represents all these trends converging in one place: economic development, global trade, strategic influence, and technological competition. It shows how infrastructure is no longer just about roads and ports. It's about geostrategy. And in a world increasingly defined by the rivalry between the US and China, ports like Chancay are becoming flashpoints. Whether this competition benefits or harms South America in the long run remains to be seen. On one hand, countries now have more choices and leverage. On the other, being caught between two superpowers comes with risks, especially if tensions escalate. For now, the leaders of South America are trying to play it smart, using projects like Chancay to drive their own development while avoiding over-reliance on either Beijing or Washington. The port of Chancay is much more than a Peruvian infrastructure project. It's a microcosm of 21st century geopolitics. As China and the United States continue to compete for global influence, South America is no longer just a passive player. It's becoming an active participant, weighing its options and shaping its future. Chancay may one day be remembered not only as a trade hub, but as a landmark in the shifting tide of global power. And that power is envied over by countries like the US, do you agree? Its good performance for the past months has been speaking for it. The port that delivers. Over the years, this project has not only marked critical milestones in Peru's logistical and economic landscape, but has also showcased international cooperation, particularly between Peru and China. The port's evolution from a conceptual project to a concrete mega infrastructure reflects both regional ambition and the global shift towards more interconnected maritime trade routes. One of the earliest and most pivotal milestones in the port's development came in 2019, when Chinese multinational COSCO Shipping Ports Limited acquired a majority stake in the project. This acquisition signaled strong international interest and investment, positioning Chancay as a focal point of the Belt and Road Initiative in Latin America. COSCO's involvement brought not only capital, but also technical expertise and global logistics networks, crucial for transforming the port from a regional concept into a viable international gateway. The Peruvian government, in turn, provided the legal and environmental groundwork necessary for the project to progress, underscoring a public-private synergy that has been vital to its success. The port's construction is one of the most ambitious undertakings in Peruvian history, with a projected investment of over $3.5 billion in its initial phases. One major achievement was the groundbreaking ceremony in 2021, which marked the formal commencement of construction. Since then, the project has made steady progress. Key infrastructural components, including a deep-water harbour, underground tunnels, logistics zones, and multi-purpose terminals, have been developed or are under active construction. These facilities are designed to accommodate large Panamax and post-Panamax vessels, making Chancay the first Peruvian port capable of handling the new generation of mega ships. This capability dramatically enhances Peru's ability to participate in global trade on a larger scale. Environmental and social considerations have also been addressed as part of the port's developmental milestones. Extensive environmental impact studies were conducted to mitigate the ecological footprint, particularly given the region's rich biodiversity. Meanwhile, the project has created thousands of jobs for local communities, both during the construction phase and in terms of future port operations and associated logistics services. Training programs and community engagement initiatives have also been launched, aiming to ensure that the benefits of this mega project are shared with the local population and contribute to long-term regional development. From a geopolitical and economic perspective, the port of Chancay represents a significant shift in trade dynamics across the Pacific. Once operational, it is expected to reduce maritime travel time between South America and China by several days, offering a direct, efficient route for the transport of goods such as copper, agricultural products, and fish meal, some of Peru's key exports. Furthermore, it is poised to compete with and complement other major South American ports like Callao, Valparaiso, and Santos. This competition is likely to drive improvements in logistics, pricing, and trade efficiency across the continent, further integrating South America into global supply chains. Looking ahead, the port of Chancay is not just a physical structure, but a symbol of Peru's growing economic ambition and its role in 21st century global trade. Its completion is expected to catalyze the development of surrounding infrastructure, including highways, rail links, and industrial zones. The long-term vision includes establishing Chancay as a logistics city, a comprehensive hub for storage, customs, and manufacturing that could serve as a model for modern port cities across Latin America. As such, the port's achievements lie not only in its engineering feats or financial backing, but in its transformative potential for the region. A strategic comparison: Panama and Suez Canals. The port of Chancay and maritime canals, such as the Panama Canal, Suez Canal, and proposed Nicaragua Canal, represent different but complementary facets of global trade infrastructure. While the Panama and Suez Canals are engineering marvels that allow ships to shorten their routes by avoiding long detours around continents, the port of Chancay is a next-generation deep-water seaport designed to serve as a strategic node in the trans-Pacific supply chain. Each serves a distinct logistical purpose, but together they form an interconnected web that enables global commerce to function efficiently. The Panama Canal, completed in 1914 and expanded in 2016, is a critical maritime passage connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. It allows vessels, particularly container ships and bulk carriers, to avoid the long and treacherous route around the southern tip of South America via Cape Horn. Its significance lies in its ability to drastically reduce shipping time and costs between the east and west coasts of the Americas and between Europe and Asia. Similarly, the Suez Canal connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, providing a shortcut between Europe and Asia without circumnavigating Africa. These canals are global choke points, narrow passages with high traffic, vulnerable to congestion or disruption, as the 2021 Ever Given incident in the Suez Canal famously demonstrated. In contrast, the port of Chancay is not a canal, but a modern port facility under construction on the Pacific coast of Peru, with the specific aim of becoming a major hub for trans-Pacific trade. Rather than providing a shortcut, Chancay offers a direct, deep-sea access point for large vessels coming from Asia, particularly China, to offload goods bound for South America. It is strategically positioned to become the Pacific gateway to the Andean region, serving countries such as Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, and even parts of Brazil. By doing so, it reduces dependency on existing hubs like the Panama Canal, which has faced increasing congestion and limitations due to climate-related water shortages. One of the key differences between Chancay and canals like Panama and Suez lies in their operational nature. Canals are transit corridors, ships pass through them. Ports, on the other hand, are logistical nodes where goods are unloaded, stored, processed, and redirected via land or other maritime routes. Chancay's value lies in its role as a logistics center, offering warehousing, customs clearance, and connectivity to inland transportation networks. Moreover, it is being designed to accommodate post-Panamax ships, vessels too large for the original Panama Canal and even challenging for the expanded locks, giving it a competitive edge in terms of scale and efficiency. The strategic importance of the port of Chancay also becomes more apparent when compared with the limitations currently facing the Panama Canal. In recent years, the canal has suffered from severe droughts, leading to water level issues that restrict the number and size of transiting ships. These challenges have prompted global shipping companies to look for alternative routes and methods of cargo delivery. Chancay offers a solution by becoming a direct destination port for large ships from Asia, which can then redistribute goods via land to South America's interior markets. This rerouting strategy aligns well with China's Belt and Road Initiative and growing Asian-Latin American trade. Another point of comparison is the proposed Nicaragua Canal, a long-discussed but politically and environmentally controversial alternative to the Panama Canal. Although backed by Chinese investors at one point, the project has faced serious obstacles and delays. In contrast, the port of Chancay is already under active construction with substantial Chinese investment and Peruvian governmental support. Unlike the risky Nicaragua project, Chancay has a clear business case: handle growing Pacific trade volumes without the constraints of canal transit fees, limited lock sizes, or bottlenecks. In essence, the port of Chancay does not compete directly with maritime canals in function. It complements them by relieving pressure on existing trade routes and providing alternative logistical solutions. While the Panama and Suez canals remain indispensable to global trade, ports like Chancay represent the next evolution in shipping infrastructure: high-tech, high-capacity, and regionally integrated platforms. As trade volumes continue to grow and diversify, the role of deep-water ports will become even more critical, especially in regions like South America that seek to strengthen their global economic links. While canals like Panama and Suez remain pivotal, they are increasingly constrained by physical and environmental limitations. Ports like Chancay provide the flexibility, scale, and regional integration that modern logistics demand. Together, these infrastructures form a global network that must evolve to meet the needs of 21st century commerce. And in that network, Chancay is emerging as a key player, not as a replacement, but as a necessary complement to the world's most iconic canals. While the port of Chancay is often celebrated as a symbol of modernization and international connectivity for Peru and South America, its development has not been without challenges, criticisms, and controversies. What could go wrong with this great project? Disadvantages and challenges. As one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in the region, Chancay has attracted attention not only for its potential economic benefits, but also for its social, environmental, and geopolitical implications. One of the most pressing challenges facing the port of Chancay is environmental impact. The construction of a deep-water port of this scale inevitably affects marine and coastal ecosystems. Concerns have been raised about dredging operations, the destruction of natural habitats, and potential pollution from increased shipping traffic. Environmental groups and local residents have pointed to the threat to marine biodiversity, including the rich populations of fish and seabirds that inhabit the region. Although environmental impact assessments were conducted and certain mitigation strategies were proposed, critics argue that these efforts may be insufficient or poorly enforced, especially once the port reaches full operational capacity. Social conflict and displacement represent another major criticism of the Chancay project. The rapid expansion of industrial infrastructure has disrupted traditional livelihoods, particularly those of fishermen and small-scale farmers in the surrounding communities. Many locals fear that the influx of commercial activity and the shift toward a logistics-oriented economy could permanently alter the region's social fabric. There have been reports of inadequate consultation with indigenous and local populations, leading to protests and tensions between residents and project developers. The perception that local voices have been marginalized in favor of international investors fuels skepticism and distrust toward the project's long-term intentions. Furthermore, the port's development raises serious questions about national sovereignty and dependency. The leading investor and operator of the port of Chancay is COSCO Shipping Ports, a state-owned Chinese enterprise. While foreign investment can bring capital and expertise, the scale and control granted to COSCO have triggered geopolitical anxieties. Critics argue that allowing a foreign government-linked corporation to manage critical infrastructure could compromise Peru's control over its own trade and national security interests. In the broader context of global geopolitics, some observers fear that Chancay may become a node in China's strategic expansion across the Americas under the Belt and Road Initiative, with potential implications for regional balance and influence. Economic concerns also loom large in discussions about Chancay's future. Despite its promise to boost trade, critics question whether the port will deliver equitable economic benefits to Peru as a whole, or whether it will primarily serve the interests of multinational corporations. There are fears that the profits generated by port operations may flow out of the country, with limited reinvestment into local communities. Additionally, there is concern that existing Peruvian ports, particularly Callao, the country's largest and most established, could suffer from internal competition, leading to inefficiencies or a duplication of services. The economic viability of building new infrastructure to connect Chancay with inland markets, such as railroads or highways, also remains uncertain and could place a financial strain on public resources. Infrastructure readiness and logistical integration present further challenges. The port's success depends not only on its maritime capacity, but also on the seamless connection to inland regions and neighboring countries. As of now, Peru's transportation infrastructure, particularly rail and road networks, faces significant limitations. Without major upgrades, bottlenecks in cargo movement from the port to inland destinations could undermine its strategic advantage. Moreover, the reliance on complementary projects, such as new industrial zones and logistics parks, introduces additional complexity and risk. Any delays or mismanagement in these areas could compromise the overall functionality of the port. Another area of concern is the potential for environmental injustice. The benefits of the port are likely to be enjoyed by national elites, international investors, and export-focused industries, while the environmental costs, such as air pollution, noise, and loss of access to coastal areas, are disproportionately borne by marginalized local communities. This pattern mirrors historical examples of uneven development in Latin America, where large infrastructure projects often exacerbate rather than alleviate inequality. If not addressed through inclusive planning and robust regulation, the port of Chancay could follow a similar path, deepening existing disparities rather than promoting shared prosperity. Lastly, there is the risk of over-reliance on volatile global trade dynamics. The port's strategic focus on trans-Pacific trade, especially with China, ties Peru's economic fortunes to the health of international markets. Any downturns in demand, trade conflicts, or global shipping disruptions, such as those seen during the COVID-19 pandemic or the Russia-Ukraine conflict, could severely affect the port's performance. Diversifying trade partners and building resilient logistics systems are crucial to mitigating this risk, but such measures require careful long-term planning and consistent policy support. Environmental degradation, social unrest, questions of sovereignty, economic inequality, and infrastructural gaps all pose serious threats to the project's sustainability. Addressing these concerns transparently and inclusively is essential if the port is to fulfill its potential without compromising the well-being of local communities or national interests. As Peru navigates this pivotal development, it must balance ambition with accountability, ensuring that Chancay becomes a symbol not only of progress, but of equitable and responsible growth. The port's future, the port of Chancay, strategically located on the central coast of Peru, is on the verge of becoming one of the most important maritime hubs in Latin America. Situated approximately 80 kilometers north of Lima, Chancay benefits from its proximity to the capital and the region's growing industrial centers. This port is part of a larger vision to enhance Peru's maritime infrastructure and strengthen its role in global trade. The project, spearheaded by a partnership between the Peruvian government and China's COSCO shipping ports, is expected to dramatically increase Peru's capacity to handle both domestic and international trade. As a result, Chancay will likely redefine the logistics and trade landscape of the entire region, playing a key role in connecting the Pacific Rim to the rest of the world. The planned expansion of the port of Chancay is one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in Latin America. The first phase of this development is set to include the construction of deep-water docks capable of accommodating the largest container ships, including post-Panamax vessels, which were once unable to dock at many South American ports. This phase will also include the construction of an advanced logistics area, which will facilitate the efficient movement of goods from ships to land transport. In addition to enhancing the port's capacity, Chancay will be equipped with state-of-the-art container handling technologies, allowing for faster, more efficient loading and unloading of goods. With a projected investment of over $3 billion, the port's transformation will help boost Peru's international competitiveness. The expansion plan also includes additional storage and warehousing facilities, creating opportunities for value-added industries such as processing and assembly, further integrating the port into global supply chains. Chancay's strategic importance cannot be overstated. Positioned on the Pacific coast of South America, it is ideally located for accessing markets in Asia, the US, and the rest of Latin America. With deep-water capabilities, the port can accommodate the largest container ships, which means it can serve as a major transshipment point for goods traveling between Asia and South American markets. The expansion will also allow it to handle bulk goods, automobiles, and even perishables like fruits and vegetables, which are significant exports for Peru. Chancay's location not only enhances its role as a maritime gateway for Peru, but also makes it a critical point for the entire region. It is poised to relieve pressure from the heavily congested port of Callao, the country's largest and busiest port. With improved connections to the interior regions of Peru, including better transportation links across the Andes, Chancay can become the preferred choice for companies operating in the wider Latin American continent. In time, Chancay is expected to be at the heart of an integrated regional transport network, linking the Pacific Ocean to markets and production centers deep within South America. The economic impact of the port of Chancay's expansion is far-reaching. By handling an increased volume of goods, it will generate thousands of direct and indirect jobs in the local economy. This includes employment opportunities in construction, shipping, logistics, warehousing, and port management. The development will also stimulate local businesses, particularly those involved in transportation and distribution, creating a ripple effect throughout the region. Moreover, the increased capacity at Chancay could significantly reduce shipping costs for companies operating in Peru and its neighboring countries, making them more competitive in international markets. On a larger scale, Chancay's development represents a geopolitical shift, with China playing a crucial role in the port's financing and construction. This partnership underlines China's growing economic influence in Latin America, particularly through the Belt and Road Initiative, which seeks to build infrastructure and strengthen trade routes connecting China to the world. While this relationship is beneficial for the economic development of Peru, it also raises concerns about the long-term implications of China's involvement in Latin American infrastructure projects. Critics argue that these investments could lead to economic dependence and greater Chinese influence in the region. However, supporters argue that the port's development will give Peru a greater voice in global trade networks, enhancing its strategic positioning. As the port expands, it will not only transform Peru's shipping capacity, but also help integrate South American economies into the increasingly important Pacific trade routes. With its modern infrastructure, strategic location, and substantial investment, Chancay is set to become one of the region's most important ports. The economic and geopolitical implications of this development will resonate far beyond Peru's borders, influencing trade patterns, economic relations, and regional cooperation. Whether this partnership will lead to long-term growth or pose challenges for Peru's independence is still to be seen, but the port of Chancai's future undoubtedly holds the potential to shape the continent's role in the global economy for years to come. If you made it until this part, you may have liked the video, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more.